Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another weekly astrology update, episode 282. That music I play at the beginning, that is from the very first episode, the Hair Healer Podcast, and I had someone, a sound engineer, what was that website used to be able to find people to do all those, little things that you need now that AI can do, and they made that little custom sound for the Hair Healer Podcast, and I've just carried it on. The Gemini in me is like, okay, the music is the least of my worries with this podcast. So first on this episode, I'm going to talk about last week's transits, which were in Capricorn. We had that Capricorn stellium. And then we had Venus and Mars conjunct the Sun opposite Jupiter in Cancer this week, Wednesday the 14th. That's yesterday, Wednesday, January 14th. Mercury in Capricorn goes opposite Jupiter in Cancer like last weekend's transit did. Saturday the 17th, Venus in Capricorn sextiles Neptune and Pisces before Venus, our Venusian queen, she moves into the Aries sign of Aquarius, which happens 5 hours later at 7:43 a.m. on Saturday. So we will be waking up with these transits and starting to bring in a little bit of a lighter, airier energy. Capricorn season hasn't been bad, but it's been heavy. And I'm going to try to describe it in the best way I can, but let me finish these transits. Saturday the 17th, the Sun in Capricorn will sextile Saturn and Pisces for the last time in those two signs, because then in a few weeks, Saturn ingresses back into Aries. And then the Sun will trine Uranus in Taurus. Sunday the 18th, Mercury and Mars will be conjunct in Capricorn. And then we'll have that new moon in Capricorn on Sunday at 2:51 p.m. We are deep into Capricorn season right now. Last week was the deepest. I was going to say heaviest, but not feeling heavy per se in the dark way that sometimes we refer heavy to, but the feeling where chaos, like the chaos of a storm, the eye of the storm has passed, it's ended. But now you're left navigating the post-chaos storms, seconds later. Like those few seconds where, the eye has passed and we're out of the storm. I guess it's calm in the eye, but you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. That few minutes afterwards where you're still kind of like, oh God, this is heavy, but feeling a little lighter. Where is my life right now? That's kind of how the transits felt last week in a lot of Capricorn season. Last week, we had Venus conjunct the Sun, Mars conjunct the Sun, and those planets went opposite Jupiter in Cancer, which will only be here for about 5 more months until the end of June. Also, this is happening post full moon in Cancer, and then next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, we will have the new moon in Capricorn, closing out this Capricorn season. This is a big rebirth for my Cancer and Capricorn placements, as well as my other 2 cardinal placements, Libra and Aries. This past weekend, I have an excuse for why didn't I drop an episode last week. This past weekend, the moon was in Libra, which is my house of finance and material wealth, the second house, and the second house in our material realm. It was in Libra, squaring Jupiter, that Jupiter in Capricorn stellium. This transit, like I said, squared my second house, and the 5th house, where we had Mercury rolling over the car, and my car, my sweet Honda, 10 years old, actually 9 years old, 173,000 miles on it, broke down on the side of the road for a 3rd time in 3 months. The whole electrical panel shut down 5 minutes before I was getting to my son's basketball game. I had to leave work early in the rainstorm, and I accidentally, I thought it was really done, and I thought, maybe I can just, make it 2 more minutes, and then I ended up blocking this intersection in Exton. Not too bad, but the cops had to come push me out. It was a whole thing. And I've had this car for 9 years. It doesn't owe me anything, but I just was like, 1 more year with no car payments. And I said, okay, guess what? I'm done. I have to get a new car right now. And my Mercury self manifests very quickly. I got the one Toyota 4Runner SR5 that was in my price range in the area this week. And I'm driving my new car. And I feel like it's my first actual, new car. I've always had used cars. And I feel like I'm a true adult. 37 years old. I got there and I did it myself. So I'm reeling. As a single mom, I did it myself, so I'm sorry. Let me have my humble brag here with that. But we do need to drive our cars for 10 years. That's my environmental speech as we can, okay? So stop turning in and get new cars every 3 years. Ride that baby out. Now, back to the energy of the astrology. Last week, the energy, like I said, was slow and steady, moving slow. It seemed like a lot of people were okay with it. The heaviness, like I said, it wasn't anger. It wasn't like deep, like, I mean, maybe for some of you. But overall, but in general, it was just kind of heavy. And I would say that more uglier side of the energy was probably through annoyance. A lot of people I know sensed extra annoyance. A lot of my clients were feeling annoyed. My coworkers were feeling annoyed just about things in their life. So there was a lot of, though, deep introspection for the cardinal placements, but especially Capricorn and Cancer. Here were the things that you were contemplating. I kept wanting to say I don't know what the fuck I was trying to say. Just ignore me. What you value most in love and friendships, okay? So that is for my cardinal placements. Think about this. Were you guys really reflecting, contemplating on that, especially last week? And maybe some things arose that gave you those awareness thoughts. What do you value most in love and friendship? What makes you feel most connected with someone or something? Why do you remain closed off, especially emotionally, intimately? What are you scared of? Reevaluating where a person, place, or thing is worth your time or your effort and your dedication. Both of your signs really show up consistently. You know, those Cancer, those Capricorns, and Aries and Libra. I know I hesitated on Aries, but I do love you guys. Don't hate on me. You guys just will cut people out pretty quick. But the rest of the signs show up consistently for those oftentimes when they shouldn't be showing up for them anymore, but they keep doing it and doing and doing. This transit, is going to have you really reflect on that. This transit can also have you seeing where you put expectations or worry too much about a connection, like a friendship or a love. Let that connection, just remember, and I'm going to give you guys a lot of this connection lecture here. Let that connection be what it is meant to be without resistance that you place on it. A lot of things in life are meant to be fun, light, full of love. So let them be. And no offense to those two signs and the other two cardinal signs. Again, this is where I think Aries shows up better at, is that it can be free and be maybe not always full of love, but it can definitely be light and fun. But the other signs often don't let themselves feel freely. Think about it. Capricorns, Cancers, Libras, I love you guys so much, but I think you three are somewhat of the most worrisome of all the astrology signs. You guys really, really worry and often put this heaviness on just living life when we're really meant to be free and live life free. So you are learning, and I'm going to make sure you guys learn, you're learning to just let things be what they are without putting so much worry and angst onto them. Stop trying to figure something out. Stop trying to control. That's the cardinal way too. You guys are the leaders, so that often comes with control. So you really try to control the dynamics around you, the people around you. And it gives the cardinal signs that identity that they know, but you really can't. I say it in every episode. You can only control your reactions, and so much is not worth all that angst and all that overthinking and all that over-processing that you are trying to always give something, place, people, place, and things. I would say that is all my cardinal placements. So Libra, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn. I would say you guys have like the biggest problem with expectations. And the Cardinals lead, like I said, you guys lead, you show up, you're the beginning of every season. So they show up freely in that energy of leading. So you don't need to people to place expectations on you, because you already place so many on yourself that you're already doing above and beyond what you need to do. But oftentimes where the problem is you put these expectations, the same expectations on the energy that you show up in on others, and that's just not how it works. The Cardinals lead, you guys show up in that energy. So you guys lead strong and passionate. And remember, not everyone shows up like that. You're not going to get all the mutable signs to show up like that whatsoever. I'm going to be like, all right, fuck off. I don't care if you have an expectation of me, just things like that. So all the astrology signs, all of the elements, though, are perfectly balanced. Remember that. So there is an important part, but you guys are leaders, but this episode is going to be about letting expectations go of others, people, place, and things to bring more happiness to your life. As we enter some cardinal placements this year in the general, astrology, my cardinal placements as we enter this year, I ask you to let go of the expectations you place on others Not all people, like I said, I'm going to remind you this one, are going to show up the way you do. You are a natural perfectionist, especially, or at least you like to be perceived that way. So you try to control the dynamic, but other people, it is not that important to them. Other signs, like I said, mutable signs, it's not that important. The expectations, you're not going to get a mutable sign to really care that much about expectations that people place. So remember that, and you will be happier. You will be more satisfied if you let go. Some of you might say, well, how do I tell someone the right way to treat me then? Like, I deserve these expectations. I expect these type of things. Well, here's for my argument side. When you let go of expectations, you don't have to even worry about even placing those expectations, because that brings you into alignment, which is very simple. But our human side overcomplicates things. Expectations, okay, hear me out, people, bring a force of resistance, okay? It is literally pushing out resistance, which is still telling the universe, hey, I don't want that thing. I don't deserve that thing. The universe doesn't respond to the way you think it should within that complicated human mind, but the universe responds to the vibration, to an energy, to a feeling. So remember that by you saying you're really saying, when you're saying, hey, they better do that. They have to do this. They need to show up like that. You're creating resistance in yourself. You're creating a force. You're creating not a higher, a vibration of super high to attract what you want. You are telling the universe, actually, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And that's how that energy, again, the universe responds, your world responds to a vibration and energy, to a feeling. The universe, think about that, in our own brain is like Mercury. And the universe outside of ourselves that's around us that we're all trying to figure out and understand is Sagittarius, the emotional component to everything. So again, when we let go of these expectations, the universe brings us into our alignment. I feel like the cardinal signs, like I said, live with that curse of expectations. And I know curse is a strong word, but at the same token, my mutable placements, you guys, me and myself, I could put a few more expectations on people, places, things. That is the truth. If you look at my fault and our faults, it's like, I could probably expect more from a person, place, or thing. So have you ever noticed that cardinal placements are hard to please? If you are a cardinal placement, reflect on that, okay? Again, so remember that. A cardinal placement, like I said, I'm not trying to attack my cardinal placements. I'm helping to bring you guys some awareness, some shifts in your energy, so please don't think I'm attacking you guys. Have you ever noticed, though, those 4 cardinal placements, they're hard to please. And would you, if you're a cardinal placement, do you find that you're hard to please? And reflect on that. Ask yourself, am I hard to please? Do I place expectations on people, places, or things that never seem to match my expectations? This is very heavy cardinal energy, and we've had this energy for the last 2 weeks really showing up for all of us as well. The reevaluation of how to bring in more, okay? Those hard expectations were really bringing us the awareness, again, like how to reevaluate our life, and this is the way it probably showed up if you sat with it differently. How to reevaluating your life around fun, less stress, go with the flow energy. What is the root of your annoyance? What kind of feelings do you not want to feel in 2026 anymore? I feel like some, except for Aries, some of the other 3 cardinal placements, except for Aries, have a hard time expressing themselves or even feeling certain anger. So often it ends up just an annoyance. I'm annoyed. I know for my Virgo placement self, annoyance is like the kiss of death sometimes. I can handle anything, but I don't feel annoyed a lot. I can handle anger, sadness, whatever. But the minute you start to annoy me, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. So like I said on a previous episode, the last episode, 2025 was all about the feelings, all about the emotions, all about the processing, all about the healing. And now there's this little crossover still about our feelings in 2026. That watermark is still there, but we are feeling these but we are letting go of these unnecessary feelings all of 2026. The rest of it. Okay, we are letting go of shit starting with this new moon in Capricorn. With the full moon in Capricorn almost 2 weeks ago on the 3rd this month, we began the final emotional head peeking through of the 2025 emotional residual stuff. We spent these last 2 weeks, like I said, being in it, having that, these reflections with the full moon in Capricorn, we're letting that shit go. We have this watermark. We're still feeling those emotions. There's a crossover between the water and the fire, but we're going to let go of those unnecessary feelings. I'm sorry. Highly emotional people don't always like when I say this, but your emotions are valid. But often they are not necessary. And I'm sorry, the more you reflect on that, or your bodies are so used to processing, it's literally hurting you and creating anguish in you. Same with anger. When we feel unnecessary emotions, that is raising our stress hormone, our blood pressure, our heart. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on with those. And those are unnecessary emotions. Yes, some are real, but often, I would say 90% of them are unnecessary. Ask, if you're like, Colleen, you're lying. What the fuck? Ask yourself, how many times after being swept away in your mind with your emotions do you say, after some time, often not even a full 24 hours, sometimes an hour, well, maybe I overreacted. Or, actually, it's not that big of a deal. Once you hit that pause button, my friends, or sit in your emotions for a while, you will realize that emotional reaction, your emotions on something was unnecessary. You look back and you're like, wow, I created some drama, or I'm upset, or I don't feel good, or someone else is upset. And in the end, it wasn't even worth it. It was unnecessary. Let's practice getting to that let go state before the emotional turmoil begins. Let's make this a year of letting shit go. And my forever mantra since about 3 years ago, shout out David Newman, if you know, you know, unbothered. Unbothered. When you feel those unnecessary emotions coming up this year, just say to yourself, unbothered, and repeat, unbothered, and repeat. If this new moon in Capricorn brings some of that emotional energy, say, unbothered, you have to teach your mind and your body to have a different reaction. This is a very grounded full moon, a new moon, bringing us back to the reality, simplicity, and groundedness, all principles of unbothered. My Virgo moon and rising with the ruling planet Mercury in Gemini, I live to help people figure out their emotions through their mind. Just an FYI. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I need my water placements. I need my watery emotional cardinal signs to bring emotions out of me. Sometimes I can be a little bit like, okay, I need to reach in there and be a little bit more emotional. Okay, that's the other side of things. But remember, unbothered, unnecessary. I love you and good night. What's that from? Is that the end of like someone's show or something like that? I love you and good night. Thank you, everyone. Happy new moon. Next week I will be back, hopefully, unless life throws me another curveball. Please rate, review, send, subscribe. I love you all, and thank you for my OGs who continue to do that. Love you and goodbye.